Everyone, if for those of you who I don't know, I see some familiar names and faces on this call, so hi to you. I'm Star Burke, and I'm the social work supervisor for children with special needs out of Kenosha County, and I'll let Susie introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Susie Wolf, and I run the Birth to Three program for Kenosha County. My agency is the Kenosha Achievement Center, and we have run the program for a lot of years. Nice to see all of your faces today.
Next slide, please. Nicole invited us here today to touch on our social emotional grant that we are awarded in partnership with the Department of Health Services. We were appreciative of being awarded as we had some pretty high aims. Nicole, can you forward to the next slide? I'm not seeing it, sorry.
I'm sorry, I'm having issues. I will.
That's okay. That's what, I'll keep us on point if you want to.
I will do. Okay.
Thank you.
Are you able to see it now?
Yeah, we had some pretty high aims. I just wanted to give people some context to Kenosha County. I know a lot of counties through this grant were accessing this. They had been accessing the protective factors, which we know are huge in safety of early education in children. And we actually were a protective factors county starting in 2015. So that wasn't a new concept to our community. We're trauma informed. And so when Susie and I brainstormed about what we really wanted to bring to Kenosha County, we wanted to look kind of with some immediacy and also upstream. So we were kind of this downstream, upstream thinking, and really wanted to tackle increasing our capacity for parent-child interaction therapy. We wanted to create a Parent U, which stands for Parent University, and we're going to talk all about that. We wanted to train our staff up to support increased social emotional outcomes. And last but not least, have some sustainable micro videos for parents to access as part of the community. Next slide, please. For those of you who aren't familiar with parent-child interaction therapy, it is an evidence-based therapeutic process, and it's pretty rigorous. It actually requires some construction because it's where a therapist sits outside of a mirror and prompts a parent to do 5 positive for every 1 negative. And so it's a very intensive coaching model, but we have great partners with Professional Services Group, our behavioral health provider here in Kenosha County, and they had therapists that were willing to be trained in the ability to construct this model. Next slide, please. Susie, if you want to talk a little about the Parent University.
Yeah, so in our discussions, what we found was that parents don't know what they don't know. And if we were looking at being able to support children in their social emotional development, we knew that had to start with parents. And so we thought, well, you know, it's hard to get parents to come to something that's a parent support group because nobody ever thinks they need that. So we thought if we could construct some classes similar to like you would sign up at a university, that might be more appealing to parents. And so categories that we considered and set classes up in mindfulness and mindful parenting. The feedback that we got from our school district is that all of their staff have been trained in mindfulness, and it's the approach they use with school-age children, but they were not doing any carryover to the parents at home. So we really felt strongly that if parents had those tools from birth on, perhaps by the time children were school age, they would have less of a need for some of these behaviors and behavior modifications that they were seeing at the school district. So that was one class. Parents interacting with infants, or PIWI, is part of the pyramid model. Some of you might be familiar with. It's just for the little guys. Hanen, if you don't know, is a approach to language development where the speech therapist teaches the parents what it is that they need to do. So it's coaching parents through the sessions and moving the children forward in their language development. And we know language is a vital piece for that social emotional growth. And then we had some micro seminars, early brain development, family systems, being present with your child. So that's kind of our big picture view of where we wanted to go. And then COVID came. So we had to adjust these a little bit. We ran some virtually. We really didn't have much that we were able to do in person. As a group, we did some one-on-one things and had to get really creative with how we were getting this information to parents. Next slide. The other big chunk of this was we identified that our staff needed more support. And I think across the state, for the grant, all the grantees were identifying the same thing, that if staff had the tools, we are on the floor, so to speak, with parents, and we'll be able to give them support around social emotional development just while we're out in the field. So we did some training with staff. We did mindfulness training. Staff have been trained in the PCIT, and we did some specific outcome training around functional outcomes targeted really specifically at social emotional development. Next slide.
Right. We're going to dig into the outcomes in a minute, but before we get there, I just wanted to give you some nuts and bolts numbers around some of those high aims. And what we focused on was getting like a train the trainer model for the PCIT therapists. So with that, we officially have 2 therapists trained, but we're starting another cohort of 10. And so although 12 families were served, because again, it's this intensive therapeutic model, we're going to be, the capacity building for this is that upwards to 80 families this coming year will be able to be serviced in the secondary cohort. So this, again, this grant is a super duper springboard for us. It's tremendous. I would be remiss without sharing that our 55 families that were served in Parent U, some of them were what we call CAPTA referrals. The focus was on any parent that was referred to Birth to 3 as a result of child abuse and neglect through our Child Protective Services unit. And when a family is involved with the Division of Children and Family Services, they're often given conditions of return. And so the agreement that the division was afforded in the Parent U was that these trainings were qualifiers for any parent that may have been found to abuse or neglected their child. This would help them to meet conditions of return. So again, a lot of counties are using those protective factors. This was an added complement to the protective factors trainings. And then as Susie mentioned, we already mentioned the 12 staff. And then currently we're aiming for 12 micro videos. We have 4 produced. We hope to have time to share one today, and 8 are in process. So next slide, please.
So here's kind of where we landed with our data. 53 of those 55 families did not have further incidents of child abuse or neglect throughout the course of the grant. As we said, 55 families completing the course. Of the families that were completing the course, we did pre and post surveys with them, and 88% report that they have an increase in the understanding of what children's social emotional development entails and what they need to do as parents in order to make sure their child moves forward and is ready for school. Our staff participated in mindful practice training. It's quite intense, and there were a lot of aha moments. I did have one staff person who it was not her thing at all. So, the data we're reporting was 11 of 12 were satisfied with the training and had begun implementing those practices both in the home and as part of their work day. The media, when I pulled this data for the slide, I was blown away. So our 4 videos so far have had over 90,000 views, and we just posted them the 1st of August. And then when I broke the data down further, the majority, over 90% of those views are from folks from Wisconsin. So that was good to hear. You never know with Facebook where stuff goes. But the majority of those views are from Wisconsin clicks. So that was good news to hear that people are taking advantage of the little snippets. When we wrote the grant, we realized that a long presentation. People don't have time for that, but quick little 2-minute, here's what you can do, clearly is hitting its mark because people are clicking. So that's good. We had to, as I said on the previous slide, we had to kind of shift because of COVID. We did survey parents and they were really struggling, especially early on in COVID, with some isolation and with some mental health themselves. So we really had to think about, our intent was to bring people together. What's another way we can give support, give them information, and still keep families safe? So we came up with the idea for a take-home kit, and literally everything fits in a take-home container. And so we had meals put together, family meals put together, as well as a take-home kit that included social emotional activities. We were able to do that 3 times, so 3 sets of kits. And then again, we surveyed the parents. 80% are reporting a better understanding of how to help their child with their social emotional learning because of what was in the take-home kit for them. Next slide. If you have time.
Yeah, that's the big question. If we don't have time, we were going to put this video in the chat. Great.
Oops. I let me just double check. But I'm. Oops.
I think we have
yeah, 1/3.
Yeah, so
Yeah. So
if the audio will work for you.
Right.
Are people hearing the audio okay?
No.
No.
I think
when you share your screen, there's a little button down at the bottom that says share audio too.
And as you switch that over, Nicole, I'm just going to say a question that's in my mind. When I hear about what you're doing in a specific birth to 3 program, it makes me wonder about how much of it is available to other programs that, you're talking about these professionally developed videos. I'm wondering about how it could be a model for others, even in different content areas. So
yeah, so it'll live on our Facebook page, our agency homepage, and we'll keep running it through Facebook as well. So we're able to continue to offer that up. And that was part of the grant, was that kind of sustainability piece. And we struggled, we asked so many times about opening it up, to the community, but the restrictions of the grant where we could only see children enrolled. So for sure, as we rehash and go over the successes of the grant, we will want to open that up, because prevention, right, is really what it's about. And if we can get the materials to families, we know that they're that much further ahead of being on track.
Well, in our newsletter to the Active Early State team, we'll make sure we put the link and the names and who people can reach out to and how to find all of this. But
perfect.
Take a minute to look at part of this at least.
Sure.
Thank you, Gail.
In today's lesson, we'll be taking a look at See Them.
Thank you. You're gonna drink the milk. I'm gonna drink some too. So yummy. Is it good?
What we are watching is Nova's mom imitating what she is doing while they are playing together.
The cup, okay. I'll put some in my...
Nova's mom is playing with her and allowing Nova to lead the play.
Make this too.
Imitation, such as putting the bus down the ramp, models and suggests approval of the play. Imitation further supports self-esteem and parent-child relationship building, demonstrated through Nova and Mom cooking and playing cars together.
Thank you for sharing. So good. Thank you, Nova.
Mom, we got some more.
Some more? Try the ambulance.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nova, for sharing.
Imitation of skills, support appropriate carryover into environments such as school and daycare.
Woo! Good job, Nova.
No, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Glad that audio worked. Great.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. It's a really cool video.
Our pleasure. Does anybody have questions?
You can also put it into chat if you want to, but I want to give some time over to Becky Thompson, who's going to be sharing about the advocacy efforts of the Wisconsin Autism Providers Association. So
I think I was actually going to ask a question. I wasn't trying to jump
Oh,
in
okay,
line.
go ahead.
Because it's so hard to find therapists trained in PCIT, so that's super exciting. And so I was just curious if for the staff that you have trained, if that's limited to families right now that are accessing services through your program, or if those therapists are able to treat like community referrals as well.
They are both. And so that was the vision, was it was really just a part of capacity building of that service. Prior to this happening, we had families traveling upwards to an hour and a half one way to access this type of support and service. And so again, we know in our fostering community that children, when removed from home, that in and of itself, again, being trauma informed, that it has its own repercussions for children in their development. And so we were looking to complement, again, kind of that looking at the lens of targeting the parent, and then also that upstream thinking of, when we do have children that are removed and are struggling, how can we get to them at a younger age? And also in that reunification process, coach parents more intensively that may need that level of support, right? So the capacity building that service partner is willing to take community referrals. Absolutely. Sorry, we're very excited for all this. Thank you.